Welcome back to the culture, the hottest broadcast in the game. Go to my playlist section. We have over 30 episodes and we have an entire playlist dedicated to this series. In this series, we shine a light on who's really committing some of the most heinous crimes here in the United States and around the world. This project was inspired by years of me listening to certain conservative voices in the media focus on so-called crime in the black community as if crime was unique to us. So that pushed me to dig deeper into the true crime data, the headlines and the statistics to see where the true criminality is actually coming from. Now, everything I'm discussing in this series is based on publicly reported cases and verified information. This content is for educational and commentary purposes only. Also, for the audience, if you come across a story that you think deserves to be showcased on the culture, send it to my email in the description, kingnefakari@gmail.com, and make sure it's not a story that's already been covered on the channel. Do not send me duplicates, right? So let's make sure we don't allow a single story to fly under the radar. Everything will be exposed, everything will be discussed. Now, let's get into today's episode. Now, today, of course, we got to talk about what happened down at one of the busiest airports on the planet, right? We have this individual. He came to the airport. Now, he didn't have a ticket to get on the plane, right? He wasn't going anywhere, but he came to the airport armed with heavy artillery, right? He came with a rifle and he was gonna spray the whole airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, like I said, right? Take a look up on the screen. Look at this headline. The authorities prevent a mass shooting event at an Atlanta airport after a rifle-wielding man threatens to shoot up the terminal, right? October 20th, yesterday. Like I say, man, calamity in the community. And as always, the conservative talking head grifters are in complete silence about their mans. How come the conservative talking head grifters ain't talking about their mans? And what do I mean by that? You know, usually when a certain demographic gets involved in criminal activity, they don't want to throw it on his collective, right? It's not based on the race of the perpetrator. In that case, it's usually based off the political affiliation. Oh no, it's not a white man, it's the radical left, right? Oh, it's not a white man, it's a liberal. Anything to deflect and throw off the yoke of accountability. Now, when you go to this guy's social media, it's undeniable, right? Ain't no debate. Take a look up on the screen. The suspect was on social media talking about, man, Trump 2020, right? Stomping for Trump. And now when it comes to me, I don't break you down into, right versus left, conservative versus liberal. No, I throw you all in the same demographic, right? Same way you do for black men. You don't break down black men into, Christian, Muslim, conservative, liberal, libertarian, capitalist, socialist. No, when it comes to black men, you throw black men all in the same pot. So when it comes to you, I'm simply returning the favor. I don't really care what his political affiliation is. I'm just showing you that it's undeniable in case you try to deflect. Now, when I went to the YouTube channels of the conservative talking head grifters, I had to go verify and see, are they talking about the event? This is a major story. Are they going to try to bury this under the cover of darkness? So I went to the channels of, Matt Walsh to see what Matt Walsh was talking about, right? And lo and behold, Matt Walsh, he's talking about Irina Zarutska, right? This man been talking about Irina Zarutska for like 2 months, right? Clown, charlatan, pure grifter, right? Then I went to Steven Crowder. He talking about who are the worst immigrants, right? So he don't want to talk about the white man who tried to shoot up the airport. He talking about who's the worst immigrants. Let's talk about immigrants, right? Let's talk about other groups, right? Then I went to the Hodge twins, right? They talking about a black woman at Metro PCS. Then I went to Brandon Tatum. So Brandon Tatum, he talking about it, right? Brandon Tatum just dropped a video about it. All right, he talking about it, right? Then I went to Benny Johnson's page, and Benny Johnson, he talking about Karine Jean-Pierre, right? He talking about a black woman. He don't want to talk about the white man that tried to commit atrocities at the airport. And not only was he from your demographic, but he was also from your political affiliation. So you definitely don't want to touch that, right? That's double trouble. But anyways, take a look up on the screen. Now, from what I can tell, he did not live in the area of this airport, right? So he traveled from, a decent amount of distance, at least about an hour, to come to this airport, right? And as you can see, it's a lot of diversity in this airport. I'm seeing some of our people in the airport. I'm seeing black men and women, traveling through the airport, minding their business. And it really makes you wonder, why did he choose this specific location, right? And as you can see, he's currently scoping out the area because they said that afterwards he was heading back to his truck to retrieve the weaponry, to retrieve the heavy artillery, to go, commit mass atrocity. And you would think that the conservative talking head grifters would be, making this the national story. Here we have an insurgent on national territory committing acts of terror. You think these guys who claim to love their country, you think they'd be talking about it, but no, they talking about black women at Metro PCS. They talking about, Irina Zarutska. They talking about, man, who's the best immigrants? Who's the worst immigrants, right? Just, juvenile conversations, just, amateur conversations. And these are the supposed thought leaders in that community, right? A bunch of cafeteria conversations, man. Grow up, man. Have some real conversations like a man. Talk about what's really happening in your community, right? Talk about the truth. Talk about the real that's happening in your community, man. Anyways, let's get into this story. The Georgia authorities successfully prevented a mass shooting event at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, after a man's family called the police that their relative was headed to the airport to shoot it up. And listen, only a demographic, just like I said, commits atrocity for personal entertainment, for personal amusement. Let's continue. The suspect, Billy Cagle, was taken into custody by Atlanta police within 15 minutes of being alerted to the threat. Cagle's family alerted Cartersville Police Department after the suspect was live streaming on social media and claiming that he was going to target the airport. The family confirmed that he was in possession of an assault rifle. Unbeknownst to the police, Mr. Cagle had already arrived at the airport by 9:30 in the morning through the South Domestic Terminal. Video footage showed the suspect was particularly interested in the TSA check-in that was very heavily crowded with travelers, according to the Atlanta police chief. Now, you already know they're leaning heavily into the mental illness angle. Now, all of a sudden, schizophrenia matters. Remember, when it came to Irina Zarutska, which Matt Walsh is still talking about damn near 2 months later, when it came to Irina Zarutska, there was no conversations about mental health and mental illness. It was all about race, right? A black criminal committing atrocity in the community. That was the angle. That's how they framed it. So why should I frame it any different? This is a white criminal that almost committed atrocity in the community. And it would have been 25 times worse than Irina Zarutska, right? Because he had at least 25 bullets, right? 25 live rounds of ammunition in his vehicle, right? Something tells me that he wasn't gonna target his own people. Something tells me that he was gonna particularly choose certain demographics to target, and he came to this area in Atlanta in particular. He didn't go to, another area of Atlanta, in Georgia, I should say, that was more populated with, his demographic. He went to the area in Georgia that is more diverse and more, it's a melting pot, right? So I thought that was interesting as well. So he was mentally ill, but he knew that I want to go to this particular area in Georgia in particular instead of the other parts, which are less diverse. So he was at least mentally stable enough to make that personal calculation. But when it comes to me, I don't give these guys the benefit of the doubt based off mental illness. Too bad, too sad. Same thing when it comes to us, right? We don't receive the benefit of the doubt based off mental illness. That gets placed on the back of our race, right? So the burden gets carried by our race. So I'm going to treat them the same exact way. I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt when it comes to mental illness. I'm going to put this on your collective as a race. Now, let's continue. Billy Cagle has a criminal history dating back to the late 90s, with his most serious conviction being a drug offense. Back in 1999, he was arrested along with 3 others for possession of marijuana with intent to distribute. A search of his home uncovered 8 ounces of marijuana and 8 firearms. He was convicted and sentenced to 8 years, but only served several months before being released in November 2000. In 2001, police responded to a disorderly conduct report at an Applebee's involving a heated argument between Mr. Cagle and an ex-girlfriend. So as you can see, back when this guy was young, he was getting caught up with the drugs and the guns, back in 1999, right? What happened to the fathers in the home, man? I don't know. But anyway, let's continue. Next story. A former aide who used to work alongside Governor Christie of New Jersey is heading to prison for illegal images and videos involving minors. It don't stop. Now, that's another profession we have to add to the list. Remember the long list of professions that we've been keeping track of on the culture, right? The priest, the pastor, the deacon, the teacher, the school coach, the football coach, the track coach, the lacrosse coach, the ski coach, the school bus driver, the public board safety member, the councilman, the council member, the social worker. Bro, so many professions of these guys getting caught up with the children from this demographic. The state representative, the city commissioner, multiple magistrate judges. It's really crazy. Now we have to add a new one to the list, right? The former aide to a governor. It's crazy what's going on, bro. Now this story is particularly heinous from what I heard, but before we jump into that, pardon me, I forgot to play the intro. Run the clip. I'll be right back.
If you didn't know already, white men make up 29% of the US population, but are accounted for over 77% of the people caught with child, you know what.
What's that? Get away from me now, I'm gonna knock your off, son. Why is he doing this? I just want to leave. I've got my property, I just want to leave. I didn't touch him. Palms together. Why are you guys doing this? I didn't touch him.
All right, we back. Now let's talk about this one. A former aide to a governor of a U.S. state. Let's talk about this one. Now, disclaimer, just because this guy's a Republican, I don't break these guys down by whether they are liberal or conservative, radical left, far right. I don't care. Y'all some white men, period. But it's just funny and ironic that the first two stories of the day came from, so-called conservatives. And when I go to the conservative, thought leaders, they're not talking about these headline stories, right? A bunch of charlatan jackasses. Anyway, let's get into it. Kevin Tomofsky, a former aide to then New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, was sentenced to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to illegal activity involving minors, a 6-year-old child. Mr. Tomofsky admitted to the authorities that he paid the victim's father in order to engage in illegal activity. Now, time out. My goodness. Now, like I said, this is why I keep saying the conservatives need to stop talking about the black father, the black family, because look at what is happening in the white community, right? You have a Republican politician that held a high-level state job, and he's out here paying fathers in order to engage in illegal activity, right? A father, right? A father offering up his own flesh and blood, his own child, his own daughter, right? And these guys want to lecture black men about black fatherhood in the black family. Look at the white family. Look what's happening in the white family. We discuss some of the most heinous, tragic cases happening in the white community every single day, right? Fathers, but I never heard this before. A father offering his own daughter for sale. You guys, man, it gets worse and worse with you guys, man. It gets worse and worse. Taking your own 6-year-old daughter and putting her on the market as a product. Man, I've never heard this before. Like I said, man, the white father, I don't want to hear nothing from the white father. Let's continue. The investigation began back in October 2022 when Snapchat reported to the authorities that somebody was on a platform uploading illegal images and videos involving minors. A search warrant was executed in December 2022 at Mr. Tomofsky's residence where he lived with his mother. The authorities discovered almost 1,000 illegal images and videos involving minors on his electronic devices, and he was identified as the recipient of an illegal photo showing a young child engaged in illegal activity with an adult. The victim's father is also indicted and faces multiple felony charges. Now, that actually reminded me of another case that's actually recently occurred. This guy, he used to star in the X-rated videos, apparently. I never watched his stuff, but apparently he was an adult film actor who recently just got like 20 years in prison on the same charge, right? This guy right here, take a look up on the screen, and I believe he got caught by the authorities because he was trying to do the same exact thing as this guy, right? He arranged with a victim's father, right? A victim's father offered up his young son to this guy, right? And of course, obviously, he got locked up and he got sentenced to many years in prison. But that case was very recently, right? Take a look up on the screen, right? September 29th, right? The press release from the Department of Justice, right? So that recently occurred. Like I say, these things happen frequently, right? When we say 29% of the population committing over 70%, almost 80% of crimes categorized as exploitation of children, it's crazy, right? Let's jump into this guy's case. We didn't speak about this guy, but let's talk about him because we got to examine the culture, right? Anyway, adult film actor Justin Heath Smith, known by his stage name Austin Wolf, was sentenced to 19 years in federal prison in September 2025 for attempting to engage in illegal activity with a minor. Mr. Smith made plans to meet with another man who claimed to be the father of a 7-year-old child, and Mr. Smith and the man arranged to engage in illegal activity involving the child. Federal authorities intervened before the meeting could occur, right? So the federal government had to intervene to save this, unfortunate victim because this guy and the child's father arranged for them to engage in illegal activity with the unfortunate minor. This is what is happening in your community, right? These events are taking place in your community. Recent cases within the last 3 weeks, right? Children being offered up to strangers by their own fathers. What a tragic community. What a tragic community. And these guys have the nerve to lecture anybody about fatherhood, about anything. Shut your mouth. Anyway, let's continue. Following the search of Mr. Smith's residence, Mr. Smith was found in possession of 1,291 illegal images and videos involving minors, including graphic and violent images involving infants and toddlers. Since 2023, Mr. Smith would target minors by offering to pay money for illegal images. Court documents reveal that Mr. Smith engaged in illegal activity with a 15-year-old black boy. Mr. Smith communicated with the teenager using highly offensive and racist language against the minor. The victim was also paid to send videos, illegal videos, to Mr. Smith with racially charged language, establishing a dynamic of racial subjugation and humiliation. Now, time out. Now, like I said, man, we discussed these guys, they do not keep their criminal activities relegated to their own communities, right? They'll leave their communities. They'll hop on a plane. They'll go to Haiti. They'll go to Kenya. They'll go to Zimbabwe. They'll go to some faraway lands just to hang around some black children, right? This guy got an apartment in Manhattan, and somehow he's communicating with somebody's son, saying all type of defamatory, language, and he's paying money to this child. I don't know how he got in contact with this child, right? And he's exchanging money to this child for these racially charged videos, right? These guys are weird, bro. These guys are weird, man. And this time we have this conversation because, like I said, we've discussed many cases on the culture, many stories on the culture where these guys specifically committed their criminal acts against the children in our community. So it's personal, right? It's not something that it's far removed from us. These guys are bringing it straight to our doorstep. They're bringing their debauchery, their depravity, and their degeneracy straight to our doorstep. They're bringing it straight to our doorstep, hopping on planes, coming straight to the village, bringing it straight to your doorstep in the village, right? Coming to your neighborhoods as the police, bringing it straight to your doorstep, right? This guy on the internet, on social media, bringing it straight to your doorstep, finding our children. These guys, we have to have a conversation about these guys, man. I'm done keeping it quiet. It's time for us to open Pandora's box and really have a real conversation about these individuals, man. Anyways, next case. A handcuffed man fleeing the police is hit and killed by a car in downtown Tampa, Florida. Let's get into this story. A 35-year-old man, Zachary Groff, died in downtown Tampa after a police officer struck him with a taser as he tried to run away while handcuffed, causing him to fall onto oncoming traffic where he was struck and killed by a car. The incident began earlier in the day when police were called to a home where a man had allegedly stolen a backpack containing a loaded gun from a vehicle. Officers later received a tip and spotted the suspect, Mr. Groff, who matched the suspect's description. When he asked for ID, Mr. Groff pulled a card from his pocket and a piece of crack cocaine fell to the ground. Officers arrested him for drug possession and handcuffed him behind his back. They also confiscated a knife that he was carrying. According to Tampa police, Mr. Groff made several alarming statements before his death, including, "I'm not going back to jail, and today could be the day I die." Despite officers providing reassurance and encouragement, Mr. Groff stood up from the bench and fled. An officer deployed a taser, which struck the suspect. He fell into the road where he was immediately hit by a Mercedes. Man, listen, I'm always surprised when I find out that people are still out here doing crack in the year 2025. My man died high on crack and ran into oncoming traffic. Man, I'm telling you, action movies happening every day in the white community. Let's continue. Next story, October 21st, today. A mother snapped after being struck by a 6-year-old child, and then she strangled him to death. Let's get into it. A Florida teacher, Miss Justine Emrose, has been arrested and charged. Her victim was a 6-year-old autistic nonverbal child. On Sunday, October 19th, Miss Emrose said that her son Elliot began hitting his head on the floor. When she tried to restrain him, she claims that he became physically combative, kicking and biting and hitting her in the face. Miss Emrose confessed that she got angry and she snapped and grabbed him with both hands and choked him. She detailed pinning Elliot down on his back and straddling him and squeezing his neck with both hands until he became lifeless, even as he fought for his life. She then sent a text message to her family apologizing and saying she was sorry, and then called 911 to report the homicide. Now, like I say, man, tragedy happening every day in the community. But what is Matt Walsh talking about? Irina Zarutska. What is Benny Johnson talking about? Oh man, the former press secretary for Joe Biden, Karina Jean-Pierre, right? Man, listen, these guys, man, they don't care about their damn community. Next story. A man receives a 50-year sentence after being found guilty in the death of a teenager. Let's get into it. An Iowa man, Mr. James Buchmertsky, was sentenced to 50 years in prison. His victim, Jade Calvin, 15 years old, was last seen on his farm in March 2017. She was known to frequently run away from foster homes and spoke to Mr. Buchmertsky on social media, right? So this guy always, listen, these guys always coming after the minors. This guy in his 50s, in his 60s, right? Talking to a little 14-year-old girl on social media, bringing her to the farm. Man, crazy culture. Let's continue. 29% of the population, over 70%, almost 80% when it comes to crimes against the children. Let's continue. Mr. Buchmertsky and the victim's mother had a previous relationship. The victim ended up on his isolated farm where she had no cell phone service. A tip led authorities to Mr. Buchmertsky, who had since moved to Georgia. During his interviews with the police, he reportedly said that, "I've been waiting for law enforcement to come and talk to me." Mr. Buchmertsky claimed that the victim left his farm to go to the store. But when pressed on why he never called police about a missing 15-year-old girl, he stated that he knew that it was illegal or wrong. "I know I'm getting myself in trouble." When questioned about the victim's whereabouts, he said that, "I'll go to the grave before I tell the truth." Despite his defense arguing that there was no body, no evidence, and no crime, the jury still convicted him. Now, yes, in this case, they have never found the body. And due to the fact that he lived on a large farm, they're probably not going to find that body for, many years and many decades. But in the courtroom, the victim's sister called him a coward, a pathetic, worthless predator. You targeted a child because no one your own age wanted you. And these guys crying about their birth rates, right? Guys like Matt Walsh and all these conservative far-right grifters and booty clappers always talking about their dismal birth rates, their pathetic birth rates. Well, how are you going to increase the birth rate when you're engaging in these type of activities on a daily basis, bro? Come on now. Anyways, next story. The staff at the Erotic Night Shepperton are asking the public's help in identifying a man who slipped a product down his pants and left the store without purchasing it. According to the store, the man was confronted but denied taking anything before walking out. The security footage captured the incident. Now, as you can see, take a look up on the screen. We have individuals, shoplifting. This guy looks like he's of a certain age, right? He's probably at least, 50 years old. And it's funny because the store that he was in an X-rated store, like, where you buy the toys and the, when you getting freaky, he was in the freaky store, right? So now imagine you getting put on blast because you shoplifted out of the freaky store. And of course, these guys be in the freaky store, keeping the freaky stores, active and bumping, probably the number one clientele, this demographic, extra freaky, these guys, man, on another level, anybody can get it. The women, the children, the animals, you already know, the culture. Welcome to the culture, man. Next story, October 21st, today, an Ohio criminal brandishes a knife at a child who refused to engage in illegal activities. Let's get into it. 44-year-old Eric Osborne, you 44 years old, bro. You look at least 72. Crazy. Anyway, let's continue. Authorities say the suspect, Mr. Osborne, restrained the liberty of a young girl by brandishing a weapon at her after the victim refused to engage in illegal activity. He was arrested at 3 a.m. Mr. Osborne was already registered as a criminal at the time of the offense. His previous conviction was in the year 2000 on a charge of attempted corruption of a minor. Now, that's what I'm saying. That's why we have the culture, because if it wasn't for the culture, bro, these guys would never talk about what's happening in their own community, right? They'll sit around, go to the black barbershop, sit around, talk about Irina Zarutska for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But all these tragedies coming in and out of their community every single day. Not a peep, not a conversation, not a whisper, not a mention, right? Not a mention, right? So we have to talk about the things they too scared to talk about. Certain topics, I guess they're sensitive topics. They don't want to touch them. They don't want to open that door. But when it comes to us, we have no fear. We're going to open that door. We're going to see what's on the other side, man. We're going to see what's on the other side. But anyway, it's your boy Neferkari, that's Salim, back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. Pin comment at the top. Subscribe to the Patreon, NTD1814. Second single off the next project, The Spy in Bamako. And I'm gone. Peace. Feel like they see me, I feel like I'm Saudi or ran up on Yana in the middle of Bamako. Enemy line, they claiming they innocent. Don't do no talking, I gotta move militant. Don't do no talking, I hit them with facts. 1804, bringing it back. 1804 like I'm Mother Cap Henry. King with the vision, the crown never empty. Top of the mountain, my soldiers defend me. Ducking and dodging the foreign intelligence. Hitting my dance on the DGSE. Dodging they traps, still on my feet. Feeling impeccable, feel like I'm shining. Go to my neck and I'm flooded with diamonds. Go to my neck and I feel like a mess. Feel like a lion, I'm in the savannah. Feel like the king when I'm up in the jungle. Never defeated, I never been humble. Come out victorious every encounter. Money machine give me help when I count it. Money machine stack it up in a beat. Heart of a king and I ride for the team. Weight of the world got it stuck on my shoulders. Bet you can feel it, my heart getting colder. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots, I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try, but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous, turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots, I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try, but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous, turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater.